Hey everybody, Jeff Miller here, head of GRE instruction at Target Test Prep, and today we are going to go through some test day tips as well as some tips you can follow leading up to your GRE. Tip number one, prioritize your well-being in the days leading up to the test. So there's so many things you can do for your well-being, right? Like you can eat healthy, you can hydrate properly. Now keep in mind, this isn't something that I'm suggesting you do just a couple days before your exam. You honestly should be doing this in the months leading up to your exam. But because we're talking about test day tips and strategies leading up to your GRE, it's something to think about because you want yourself to be in the best physical and mental health that you can be prior to your GRE. Other things you can do to help yourself: begin visualizing your success. Think about being in the test center, sitting down in that seat, knocking question after question after question out, and feeling really good about the process and not being nervous or scared. And one other thing that's very important is relax the day before the test. You might want to say, you know what, I got to go through all my notes, I got to take a practice test and do practice questions. Trust me, you just got to chill out, relax, fine, go through maybe some flashcards, but other than that, really do your best to relax and get your mind off the test, and that way you'll walk in refreshed, mentally ready to go so you can knock the GRE out of the park. Tip number two, and I know we just kind of talked about this, but don't go crazy practicing GRE questions and taking tests the day before you take your GRE. Again, this is a day where you're starting to become mentally ready and in place to take the test. What you know is what you know at this point, so there's no sense in doing a ton of practice questions, because what happens if you're doing, let's say, even 30 practice questions and 5 of those you get wrong? Well, is that going to kill your confidence? Are you going to then go into a rabbit hole figuring out what it is you did wrong in those questions? And before you know it, it's midnight and you have a 10 a.m. test the next day. So the point is, just try to chill out. Don't do practice questions or too many of them. Don't try to do any practice tests. Just try to relax and do anything you can that's going to not have you think about your GRE or do anything to affect your confidence for the test the following day. Tip number 3, take 1, maybe max 2 practice tests the week before your GRE, but do not take one within 48 hours of your actual exam. Practice tests take a lot of mental energy. I mean, think about it. You're sitting there for many hours, you're grinding through questions, the timer is on, you're nervous, so don't put yourself in a position where you're going to get mentally fatigued taking that test so close to your GRE. I understand that a week is a lot of time, so if you have 6-7 days until your GRE, sure, you can take a practice exam because you're still in study mode then, but you got to start to turn the spigot off little by little as you get closer and closer to test day. So as long as you're in that, not within that 48-hour window, I have no issues with you taking a practice test. And after all, you know your body well. So if it's 5 days prior and you think you can handle it and it's going to help you and give you a boost for your exam, by all means, take that practice test, but do what you feel is right for your mental state leading into your GRE. Tip number 4, do some warm-up questions on test day. Now this is different. I know before I said don't go crazy the day before your exam doing tons and tons of questions, but it's always helpful to do a couple easy gimme warm-up questions on the day of your test so you can start getting in that GRE mindset. Don't do crazy hard questions. Don't do anything that's gonna, throw you off, but do some questions from topics that you know you'll get right. Get yourself into that mindset and get ready to go to your exam. And you could probably do this as you wake up, eat a nice breakfast, relax, do some questions before you're getting ready to go to your exam, and then you can hop in your car or however it is you're going to get to your test. Or if you're taking the GRE at home, you won't have to go anywhere. But the point is, just do it well before so your brain can start getting ready to go, hours before your exam. Tip number 5, mentally prepare yourself for some ups and downs, and I cannot tell you or stress how important this is. So if you've ever taken the GRE, let's say you're a retaker, you probably know what I'm talking about here. The GRE is a test of attrition. It's going to tax you mentally. And at some point on the test, I can't tell you when, or at a few points, something bad may happen in the sense that you may be cruising along in a question, get to the end of the question, and then feel like you just hit a brick wall because your answer is not matching the answer choices, right? So what do? Do you freak out? Do you panic? Do you think, oh my gosh, I've screwed up this section, the test is over? Or do you just say, you know what, this is one question of say 20 in a particular section, and I'm gonna get the next one. And who knows, you may get to the end of the section and have some time left to go back and fix whatever mistake you made. But the point is, these ups, these downs are gonna happen throughout the GRE, and if you're not ready and prepared for them to happen, then things could go south in a hurry. So just understand that if you lose the battle in some cases, it doesn't mean you've lost the war, and you can still get a great score on your GRE. Tip number 6, don't dwell on the past. As I just said, there will be ups and downs on your GRE. Good things will happen, bad things will happen. No matter what happens, you can't dwell on something that happened in a previous question or in a previous section. You need to stay focused. You need to be compartmentalized on exactly what's happening in front of you. And a great way to do that is you just focus on the problem at hand. If the problem before you had an issue, you're still focused on this problem, and you're not worrying about how many sections you have left. You're not worrying about how the sections went prior to that. It's just one question at a time, and keep checking that box. And if you can do that, you'll stay focused, you'll be very even-keeled, and you'll be excited to move through the test. You won't have all of this crazy anxiety popping up because you're worrying about too many different things than just the most important thing, which is the problem you're working on at that very moment. The final tip, tip number 7, is remember, you can always take your GRE again 21 days later, and using Score Select, you get to choose which scores you ultimately send to your graduate programs. So I'm telling you all this because there's no reason to panic at all during your exam, because there's always backup options. Yes, if you have application deadlines coming up, that could be a different story. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, for the most part, if you've planned accordingly, nothing is the end of the world. If you think something's going wrong on your GRE, don't cancel it at the end of your test, because then you won't even see your score. Accept the score, see how you did, and if you have to make further arrangements to retake the exam in 21 days, you can. And look, if you do better in that exam in 21 days, as I said, using Score Select, you can just take the best score you had, send that to schools, and you'll be set. So there's not a whole lot you have to worry about during your GRE. As long as you prepared properly and you feel confident on test day, there's no reason why you can't walk in that test and knock it out of the park. So that's it for today's video. I had a blast talking about some tips you can follow on test day, as well as the week leading up to your exam. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our video channel. And as always, if you have videos you'd like to see me make, please leave comments and we'd be happy to get to them in future weeks. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll talk soon.